So what do you want to do? There's different business models out there. Those are two almost opposing models. I don't think you can necessarily satisfy both sides. They're both equally good things to do, but you're the CEO. You've got to pick one. What are you thinking?
Well, I know from personal experience that once a project heads down the path of, okay, the feasibility study is here, we're now declaring that this part of the project is now subject to permitting. I know that's when usually the tap of exploration dollars typically runs dry, because you're now all of a sudden allocating all your financial resources towards, feasibility and beyond, if you will. And that's the boring stage for geologists.
Yeah.
I know that for a fact. We have 2 years to really keep our foot on the gas on the exploration side. So personally, I want to see that exploration accelerator sort of just keep amping up, because we are on to certain aspects of this project where we know we can grow the resource base perhaps to 6 million ounces or better. I don't think that's going to be a big stretch in the next 2 years, but personally, that's what I want to see in the near term.
Beautiful. So 6 million ounces is a number you're putting out there. There or thereabouts, right? Why that number? What does that give you? What does that tell people?
Well, so it vaults us into a different category. So, and again, just going back to the PEA for a moment. So the PEA study, first PEA that we did on the project was really a snapshot of a project that we would build if we were to build a project today down at Del Mar. And so it was important for us to show a project that had a CapEx that was of a size that we could afford to raise. So it was important for us to show a CapEx on a heap leach project with a small mill that would cost us circa 200 million Canadian dollars to build. Company of our size, 150 million market cap, probably within range. If we had all the permits to build it today, we could do that. However, the next iteration of a PEA, which is to come out this year, is going to look at a much larger CapEx, a much larger production scenario, right, attracting a different crowd of investor, potentially attracting a different crowd of corporate buyer, maybe not the project that we would build, because it's obviously going to be a larger CapEx to get there. But it's that optionality of the project that we love, and we're going to try and maintain that optionality for as long as possible.
Okay, so you've got a huge institutional following. You've got a big success behind you. You've made a lot of people some money. So conversations around capital must be a little bit easier for you, because 140 million market cap-ish today is not bad. It's not bad at all. What are people telling you that they want you to do with regards to the type of financing and the type of raises that you may need to do over the next couple of years?
Yeah, it's funny. The mantra has been for the last 2-3 years. We don't like royalties. We don't like streaming deals. Don't take any debt on. Equity only, but please don't dilute us. And thanks very much. And please invite us to the mine opening in 4 years. That sort of thing.
Sure.
So
okay.
It was very much just sort of straight equity, right. And thankfully we've managed to raise money at successively higher levels over the last 2.5 years. We've resisted the temptation to issue warrants. That was one of the roadblocks at certain times in Integra Gold. We had to issue warrants in order to get financings done, and a big warrant overhang is something we had to deal with in the past. We don't have to deal with that here now. So equity is it, I guess, is the
right. And you're sitting on enough cash to kind of get you through what you need to be doing for the next how long?
It's this cash that we have now, just over $30 million, is going to take us well into the end of the year, perhaps into January, February next year.
Okay, so maybe now's the time to kind of come on to the projects. So tell us a little brief summary of the projects, but what are you doing on each of those to kind of bring them up to the level that you want to be up at?
Yeah, so again, sort of following this theme of even split between exploration and feasibility level studies. So on the exploration front for this year, we've got close to 17,000 meters of drilling to be done. And that's just pure exploration. Understand that in the last 2.5 years, a lot of our exploration dollars have gone into twinning zones, slight moderate step outs, just to confirm a resource model. Now we don't have to do that anymore. We're doing pure exploration, step outs, at a distance away from the resource envelope, going into new areas that have never been drilled but have all the same hallmarks and signatures that Delamar and Florida Mountain have. So we'll be doing, call it 17,000 meters of that exploration, with a pivot to higher grade, because we think we're getting on to signatures that are revealing themselves to be, this is where the high grade is. This is where you need to look for high grade. And I think our news releases have shown that in the last few months. Mm-hmm. In addition to that exploration, that drilling, we're doing, the target generation studies, lots more soil geochem, lots more geophysics, lots more mapping, field mapping, just to keep the pipeline full of targets to keep drilling.
Right.
And then on the let's call it feasibility level study angle, we've got about 7,000 meters of net drilling to do, and that's essentially collecting enough material within the oxide and transitional material to study gold and silver recovery variability within these two deposits. And that's key, right? We've got a good sense of what the recoveries could be, but for the level of feasibility met that we have to do, we have to start checking out what the variability is within oxide and transitional material.
Right. Okay. So you've got just over 30 million bucks. That'll take you through to January, so 12 months ish. So you're going to be smashing through that cash quite quickly, drilling a lot of holes and moving these projects on. That's quite a big deployment of capital. At the end of which, what do you do?
Well, then, so we would then have to finish off the balance of the feasibility study. And, again, I get back to that 2-year rule where we've got 2 years to explore the heck out of this project. And then, then we get into feasibility mode. So my expectation would be another sort of 15 to 20,000 meters of exploration thereafter. And then we're also into sort of nipping and finishing up the last bits of the fees study. Right.
But in terms of going out and getting equity, you're going to have to get some money in 12 months' time.
And that's the fuel to the machine.
Right. So, but a similar sort of number. Would you then look to deploy circa another 30 million in 2021? Is that the idea?
I would love to be able to do that. Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
In my sense is that we'll be raising money at much higher levels because we've got a couple pivotal events to come out this year.
Okay.
Not only all exploration, but this PEA update, which is going to show what we think is going to be a big incremental jump in our production profile, our estimated production profile.
Okay. Need to ask, you guys made, you said earlier, a bunch of money for yourselves with Integra Gold, which is well done. It's the name of the game. How did you structure your own remuneration on this? Given you now don't need the cash, were you much more incentivized towards the success of this company, or are you pulling out large sums of cash for yourselves? I mean, where's the headset when the mindset when you set this thing up?
Yeah. Well, so in Integra Gold, obviously none of us had a lot of skin in the game because we didn't have a lot of our own capital to deploy.
Yeah.
This time around, we've deployed our own capital and management. We own 10% of the company now.
Yeah, I saw that.
And we financings and we buy, we buy on market. Our shareholders keep yelling at us and saying, why doesn't management buy more stock? So we buy more stock and then we don't hear from anybody. No pats on the back, thank you. But it's what we do because there's good value in our stock. In terms of the remuneration of the group, it's largely the same as Integra Gold. We didn't, because of our success, we didn't all of a sudden grant ourselves doubles and triples on cash and bonuses, and so it's the same.